Thursday afternoon live, and you took vacation last week, didn't you?
Ish, kind of. Yes.
Kind of ish.
It wasn't very enjoyable, but.
And they got to see me paint a halibut tail, and I was going to have it finished for you so you could see it. And the week got away from us. We have a whole lot of new supply company products coming out, and a lot of things to work on. We've
been going fast and furious.
Fabulous ears to debut, and new mannequins, and a lot of new dynamic life size. List goes on and on and on.
And on and on.
More XP forms and
habitat materials.
And bears.
Yep.
And
bear sculptures.
And eyes and all kinds of things.
And eyes and eyes and eyes.
And that brings us to this week's presentation, I guess, and that's eyes. You know, there was a big panic in the taxidermy industry a few months ago when the glass eye, you know, it's kind of difficult to get them. And I know we would go to shows and people were frantic because if a taxidermist can't get glass eyes, he's reduced to painting black marbles, I guess. And so there was a lot of concern, and I think it's working itself out, and necessity is the mother of invention, they say.
Yes, it is.
And so we wanted to talk to you today about some of the new things that people are using, and kind of some of the old things, and show you the goods and the bads. And so we have a whole array of eyes here. And they say the eyes are the mirror of the soul. Most of you have heard that expression. And if your eyes on your mounts don't look lifelike, your mount doesn't look lifelike. If you don't have eyes, you don't have anything, because it's kind of like the eyes and ears are the first thing people look at. They can see the ears from across the room a little bit farther, but when you get close up, you know, it's the eyes.
Everybody goes to the eyes. Yeah.
So that's really important, and we want to make sure that we have good eyes. And we've worked with Payer and Tohican over the years, and with COVID, it seems like there's shortages of everything, and I think one of the worst things is shortages of help. You know,
yes, for sure.
A company might have the best product in the world, but if you don't have people to manufacture it, just like us here, we struggle from day to day with, you know, keeping a full staff here. And I probably shouldn't say this, but if you're working at the Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company and we have a full crew and nobody missing, they get pizza for dinner.
Yeah.
And we don't do that very often.
Don't get pizza very often.
So if you want free pizza for dinner, come and work here. Make sure you show up, and everybody gets free pizza for.
Yep.
But it is all companies. It doesn't matter. We had a fella from Australia come and work with us on Craig Robinson and his wife Janet work on us with molding fish, and he said it's the same identical situation in Australia, and it's just national phenomenon for us.
Yeah,
you know.
It is. It is. It's hard to find consistent help.
It is. It is. So I want to be in that group, the ones that don't have to go to work. I like that. I like that concept.
No.
Eugene Beasley and Blake Gonering say hello.
Hi, Blake. Good to hear from you. Blake is one of our sculptor's sons, and not only that, he's a regular on the Thursday afternoon live. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Well, to get started, we're going to show you just some of the varieties that are out there of different options. I mean, for years and years and years, we have a Tupperware. I don't know. It's a vinyl tile adhesive or something like that, filled with eyes. When one drops and breaks, the poor little owner goes in the box and goes in the bucket, and after 40 years of doing this, we have a lot of eyes. And then we were fortunate enough to unfortunate enough to Barb Degami worked for us, and Barb Degami, after she left us, worked for Van Dyke's, and when she left, she ended up with a giant pail of glass eyes, everything from vintage glass eyes from when the medieval people used to blow glass all the way up to modern, and we have a giant tin, and Barb passed away, and we inherited this giant tin of every kind of glass eye that you've ever seen in your entire life. And so we have a lot of different glass eyes, and we've seen everything from the beginning of glass eyes. And when I started, it was, I would have to say Jonas Brothers was the first company. Van Dyke's did not have eyes at that time, and they were concave convex. They were nothing like, looked like a half of a glass ball cut in half, and they worked well for the knowledge that we had in those days. And then they just became more refined and more elaborate, all the way to, Tohican was producing the Joe Meter glass eyes and the fluid eyes and the forward-looking eyes with IQ eyes with blood vessels, really extravagant, concepts that made creating expression easier, I guess, compared to the old eyes that we started with. So when you get used to using something like this, and all of a sudden you can't get it anymore, there was a lot of people a year and a half ago started to panic. And we were getting a crazy amount of phone calls about, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Just relax. Relax. Yeah. Relax. It'll work out. It'll all come out in the wash.
Monica Holden says, need to get down there and see you guys again. Had such an amazing time at the school. Such an incredible experience. Such incredible people.
Oh, wow.
And then we've got Mike Cottrell who says, what is your opinion on pool salt for hides on pickle bath? Was used Stockman from feed store, but not in stock rarely.
I don't know what's in pool salt.
I don't either.
I don't know, as long as there's not chlorine or something like that. I don't know.
Non-iodized, we'd prefer non-iodized salt, which I wouldn't think pool salt would be.
I don't know what's in. Find out what's in pool salt. That I couldn't tell you. You don't want to, salt is salt, but it's really not. There's a lot of different kinds of salt. And you mentioned non-iodized salt, and I have preached that for years, non-iodized salt, not knowing why I said that, but that's what I was taught. So, non-iodized salt. I did a doll sheep and salted the cape and hung it up, and I had bright purple stripes. The juices were running through the hair, and I thought, oh my gosh, and it rinsed right off. It was not serious, but that was the iodine color in the salt, which you can't see until you salt the hide and it turns to a liquid. It was a panic situation, but now I know why they say non-iodized salt. I don't think the iodine will hurt you, but it definitely was colored purple.
He says it is pure salt.
I would think that would be fine.
Yeah, it should be. I wouldn't think it. I would try it, of course.
Anytime for all of you, when you get a product that you're unsure of, whether it's a gloss or a sealer or a paint, or you're doing something out of the ordinary that you've never done before, test it on something. Yes. I would take a chipmunk and I would skin it and flesh it and salt it with pool salt and see what happens. That's
you should be nice.
Test. We test everything. When we do a lot of fish, and when we're painting, I always like to doing something I've never done before with a sealer or a gloss. I will take a piece of plexiglass or a piece of glass and paint and then put the gloss over it, and on a slick sheet like that you can easily see if they don't play well together.
Yeah.
But always test things.
Craig Metz says, Barb was one of my instructors there almost 29 years ago. Great memories. Hello, Tom and Brett.
That was a long time ago.
Was a long time
yes,
ago.
It was.
Yeah. She was one of mine, too.
All right, keep your questions coming. We like questions, and it helps everybody learn. So as And don't forget to like and share, because that's how you win fabulous prizes, correct?
That's correct.
Like and share. To start with, there's glass eyes. When you're getting back to glass eyes, there's all kinds. There's a spheric. If you go to the glass eye companies like McKinsey, I guess, and then you could also check with McKinsey. And McKinsey, don't forget McKinsey's, they seem to have all the glass eyes now, and payers. But they will probably have diagrams on their websites to show you there's a lot of different styles. There's a spheric, there's forward looks, there's, all kinds of different terminology that they use, and they will have diagrams of what you're actually buying. But in a spheric eye typically is equal on all sides, just a nice rounded, curved, shaped eye. This one, unlike the aspheric, is a forward look. The eye is rotated that direction. But there's all kinds of different kinds, and you'll have to look at the different websites or any of their literature to see exactly what you're buying if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah. That also might be the defined cornea, too.
Yep, and some of them have the defined cornea. The cornea is kind of above the iris. It's the lens of the eye. And this one there's a little contour definition, if I would say that right. Here's the sclera, the white portion, and then it changes its arc a little bit when you come to the cornea that lays above the iris. So check out the different kinds. And I know I saw that Tony's coming out with a new line of eyes that's been on the website from Tohican, that formerly Tohican, and so we'll look forward to seeing what he comes up. I'm sure it'll be a great looking eye. So that's kind of the glass situation. You drop a glass eye, you break it. Sometimes. We've had people break a lot of students and things like that. We've broken a lot of eyes. New to us several years ago, we started using Europe eyes, was the craze for birds. And this little cluster here is Europe eyes. And Europe eyes are actually airbrushed, and they're painted. And to paint that little pupil in that many eyes, you have to be kind of good at that. And occasionally we get different sized pupils. We try to match them up when we send them to people. But Europe eyes have been very popular, and they're kind of a concave convex, no special shape, just a natural bird shape. These are the eyes that Wildlife Illusions bird heads accept. Yep. And they've been a strong bird eye for many, 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 many years.
Yeah. And that's the snap-in.
And they snap in. They're hollow on the back. Kind of have a little, like a soup bowl type look in the back. And they'll snap right in, and Corey's heads all accept those, and they work really good. New to the bird eyes are and here's jumping back, here's a Europe eye in a bald eagle.
I was going to say that's a big one.
Maybe it's an owl.
Big.
It's a raptor of some sort. And that is a big eye. And then new to the bird eyes for us is live eyes. And these are not painted. They're computer generated. Mm-hmm. They have a little stem on them. I think the stem, we don't use the stem. Some people may, and we have used the stem. You can, we're going to set an eye for you on this deer, but even the larger eyes have a stem like that, and you can easily make a receptacle for that, and it will keep your angle the same. Once it's in, it's going to be difficult to rotate anything. You're stuck with that. So you kind of have your choice. You can leave the stem on, or you can leave the stem off, take the stem off. And live eyes have every conceivable creature known to mankind in their configuration. We even do have some live eyes here with no stem. Here is a live eyes in a fish. They've got some gorgeous, gorgeous fish. Ooh. When it comes to fish, our first non-glass eye, we've used glass eyes quite a bit, but when flex eyes came out, most of you are familiar with flex eyes, and flex eyes come in birds, fish, mammals, deer, and they're actually, I wouldn't call them acrylic, but it's a synthetic cup with the iris and pupil in it, nice gold ring around it, and it's filled with what I would say is silicone rubber.
Sure, it looks like a rubber of some sort.
And the nice thing about flex eyes is if they're just, eyes typically come in even, 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter, not so much 13s and 15s. So all the fish that we do are odd millimeters. All the birds we do are odd millimeters, seems like. So all you have to do is take a scissors, and this is flexible. I think Tom Sexton, when these first came out, did a little tutorial where you would put foam in your eye socket of your fish. You would squeeze this, force it through the eye rim, and let it go, and it was an instant eye set. It expanded back out to the eye. It worked for him in the tutorial, not so much for me. But that's a flex eye, and flex eyes come in a lot of different versions. This is a aqua eye from Tasco.
Oh, yeah.
And aqua eye has some really nice eyes. They're a forward-looking eye. I like that. We both like that, I think.
Yeah.
And they come in a multitude of colors, different species, and bluegill and panfish and largemouth and northern and crappies. They've got all kinds of different eyes, and I like the shape of those.
Yeah, they have a nice shape.
And totally acrylic, plastic.
And those are hollow on the back.
Yeah, they are. They're dished in just like the Europe eyes, kind of. And again, acrylic. Jeff Lumsden eyes. These they come like, the first ones we ever got were like this. They're just a plastic cup.
Yeah.
And then I think he started making them with a pupil painted, which saved the taxidermist a lot of work. We used to take little markers and we would sketch out our pupil or try to keep the paint confined to the little pupil area. Then I think he even has, don't we have them with the ring around them? Oops.
I don't.
Jeff, you better do that. I thought we did.
I don't.
Maybe we put the ring around them. But they're real easy, and we've done a Thursday afternoon live painting them. And if you never painted fish eyes, it's fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
It's like dyeing Easter eggs. We like painting fish eyes.
It's fun, yeah.
So you can get them clear, paint them yourself. We've even gone to the extent of making our own eyes, where you and I took fish and we extracted the eye from the fish and made a silicone rubber mold of that eye, and then made an actual cast of that, and then made an actual eye, painted that. And the amount of work that goes into something this is kind of off the charts, I guess. But that was fun too, wasn't
there's two parts to that piece too. Remember, we also made the mold of just the sclera without the cornea.
So there's 450 hours to make an eye.
Yeah.
We do have an off-subject question really quick from Corbin. When it comes to spray guns, how do you stop the air gun from spitting?
spitting to me. You tell them.
So talking about an airbrush, more than likely he has something, I'm thinking that there's something causing an obstruction, and it's either happening in the needle, between the needle and the cone restriction, so it's keeping the needle from coming all the way forward. He could have something as simple, I guess where I would start is something as simple as buildup around the rim on that air cap. Sometimes you can, if you're not letting, if you don't cease the paint first and let your air travel past when you shut off your airbrush, you can get buildup around your air cap. So check your air cap for excess buildup. That'll cause spitting. Poor cleanliness, usually it's a needle issue. It might not be clean. Or if all of those things are, if you've checked all of those, check your consistency of your paint. We have had minor cracks or minor cracks in the cone or curved needle tips too that need addressed. Lots of options.
A lot of little things. Crack will do it.
Yeah.
Too thick of paint and too low of air pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. That one could go on and on and on
Yeah.
without a lot of.
We have, and I don't know if I could grab it. Kate, could you bring me that black airbrush box right on the top of my box?
Oh yeah.
And real quick, Corbin, if you go to our YouTube channel,
Thank you.
we did an airbrush live seminar last week that you may find some helpful tips and tricks.
With our Harder Steenbeck airbrush line, there is a little, do you know what it's called?
Yes.
It's a little cleaner of some
it's
sort.
a cleaning needle.
It's a little reamer, but it's just two parts. This is nothing but a cover. But in here, it's got a needle that's flat on one side and rounded needle on the other, and it's very, very pointy. I think it's made for the Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, but we use it a lot on all of them. And you just take your air cap out of the airbrush, stick this in, and softly twist it. And I cleaned my airbrush this morning and thought I had it really clean. And I stuck this in, softly twisted it, pulled it out, and it was caked in dark paint.
Yeah.
And I just wiped it off in my hand and did it again, sprayed some restorer through it, and cleaned it right up. But we like these things. These are a handy little thing to keep your airbrush going.
You're putting that in from the back.
From the
correct?
back of the air cap, yeah.
So from the same direction your needle goes in.
I used it on my Iwata, and I took the little wrench, took my tip out, which if you drop, you'll never find. And then I took that tip, and this fit in there. Don't force it, and just twist it. And it's a little scraper. It'll scrape all that paint right out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holly says, great info, guys. And as
There's
well
Holly.
as
Holy
Stewie
cow.
Jones.
Thanks,
Hi, Holly.
Holly. Okay, then acrylic eyes, we go to, I think our reflective eyes were a big deal and still are. I mean, we sell thousands of reflective eyes, and they're an eye. This is a mountain lion, and I don't know if the camera will show it.
Yeah, we might.
That one?
You want me to hold that?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get that.
Oh, there we go. I see it. Zoom in on that. Now that's a reflective eye. This is a mountain lion reflective eye. And I think there's about 3 different versions. There's a flat back, which is not, ooh, look at that, which is not quite as reflective. There is a semi-rounded capsule, they call it. This is a capsule. And then there's a full capsule, which really has a lot of reflective attributes. Now, the nice thing, if you take that away, take the light away, it looks just like a normal eye. So what we like to do is we put them in bears, we put them in mountain lions. You can check with your customer if you're worried that he might not like it, but people really go crazy over reflective eyes. I don't know. I don't know if we've ever done a mountain lion without. I don't know if we've ever done a bobcat without. Since they've come out. I don't know if we've ever done a bear without. It's the kind of thing nobody will ever notice unless you say, look what we did for you, and show them with a flashlight. Again, it's an acrylic eye. Acrylic / we don't use the word plastic anymore. Bobcat eyes, they come in everything, even deer. We did a deer
Yes,
reflective eyes on a deer, and young man requested it, and because he had seen one of our presentations like this, and he said he wanted the reflective eyes in his deer, and we didn't know how that was going to look. We'd never used them, and it was really sharp. Again, it's just a black to dark pupil, a dark purpley blue pupil, until you shine the light on it, and so he can show all his friends. But they're very, very popular. The mountain lion people like them, and bobcat people like them, and they're got a great shape. They come in defined cornea kind of also, and as well as an aspheric type.
Craig would like to know, he says he's hearing live eyes. What about dead eyes? Doing lots of pack mounts, tastefully deceased is great, but a little too alive maybe?
Close them. I don't know. We've had people ask about that, and it's kind of like the blind eye, but you can't use a blind eye as a dead eye.
Deer, yeah.
But I know of nobody that makes one. You could probably be creative and come up with something.
We've done a few things. We've buffed them.
Yeah.
You can buff them with sandpaper. We might even show you how to make one look dead here in a little bit. But yeah, that's. I think the market for them is so small; it would be hard to produce one. But they're not too hard to make if you have a little bit of patience.
Yeah, that's you're not the first one to ask that.
No.
Probably won't be the last. Speaking of live eyes, he mentioned live eyes. Live eyes we showed you the bird live eyes. We also have a large selection in stock of live eyes for deer and fallow deer, red deer,
Great
elk.
selection.
Like how many different colorations of whitetail do we have, or deer? Probably maybe 3 or 4 lights and darks and mediums, and 4 of them. And they are a computer-generated eye. Now, some of the eyes that we've had in the past that were computer-generated, you can look at and you can actually see pixels, which were not, if a customer looks in there and sees the little, like a TV pixels, they don't like that. There's a chance they're not going to like that. These are so fine and so well defined, and probably, I would say, photos of real animals, and then maybe, electronically enhanced, like in Photoshop or something like that. I don't know how they make them. We think they're pretty accurate. There's 2 different styles. If you look at them from the side, there's a thickness in the cornea, which if you've ever cut into a deer eye, make us sound bad here, but if you've ever done that as a little kid, you probably did. There's a pretty big pillow of lens right there, and these exhibit that trait. The coloration is really, we like it.
Colors are really nice.
As a matter of fact, I think the last deer that we just did had it. This caribou has live eyes in it, and they come in a lot of colorations. Quite a few different colorations. That's, I think, a red deer. Here's a dark. Now this one, you'll notice there's no white band around it. The one I showed you earlier, the first one, has a white band around it. Not much, does it? Some of them, here's one with a white band. And with the white band, you can turn your eyes. You know, you can, little white here and a little white here. You can make him look a little to the left, a little to the right. You can change your eye rotation, not as much as you can with the traditional, or you know, the older high-end glass eyes. But there's a huge, been a lot of people on Facebook, you know, asking about live eyes. Here's a fox. Now, with any of these, the one thing you're going to want to be careful of is scratching them, I guess. When we set eyes, typically we set eyes with a metal tool like this, and you can carve your clay, you can stick a pin under them, and you can adjust the angle and everything with this. When we use acrylic eyes, we tend to put the metal tools away and pick up something much softer. One of my favorite and the easiest thing, you can make them yourself, is a little bamboo tool. I love that thing. If anything happens to it, just sharpen it up on the sander. You can flatten it, sharpen it, you know, all different kinds of things. But make your own little wood tools, little wood sculpting tools. I like to use these rubber tools. Are very handy. I like the firmer ones. What's this one called? We've had this forever. Rubber tool, probably. Yeah. And then we have those in a lot of different varieties. Some of these are helpful, but they're a little too soft.
They're very soft. Yep.
Which I don't find as useful. I like to use a brush a lot, and a brush can be soft. If a brush is too soft, this one I just took a scissors and cut off a little bit, and you can coax eyelids with a brush. All kinds of different brushes.
Yeah,
that
I
are
like
helpful.
that one a lot. I really like those with the acrylic on the other end.
This end.
Yep, you can use both. If you need something a little more precise, you can use the sharp end.
And this is nothing but an acrylic rod. You can buy acrylic rod down. We sell acrylic rod by the foot. I mean, you can get a 6-foot piece probably. You can sharpen them, you can bevel them, you can do all kinds of different things with acrylic rods and make your own tools. But when you get to the acrylic eyes, you'll be sad when you put a big scratch on them. And what would you do if you got a big scratch on them?
I'd be sad. No, we have done that, and we've had to repair it. I think we even have a little live where we repaired a fox eye, maybe. It seems like it was a fox. We took a triple thick glaze, tried our best to buff out the scratch, and weren't able to accomplish it. So we laid him nose up, just as these eyes sit this way. And then we took the triple thick glaze and we just put it on a little bit of a dropper, and we were able to just put a drip right on the very point of the eye and let this gloss run off into the edge. And it ran out. You do have to kind of mop it up as it goes around into your eyelid, so it doesn't look like he's crying, but come back and just dab that a little bit, and it healed that scratch very, very well. These eyes are surprisingly durable, though. I think the fear is scratching, and that's what we've all kind of emphasized, is to be careful, be careful, be careful. But they're
great.
Solvent resistant. We've tested that. They're scratch resistant, like a glass eye. A glass eye, if you abuse it, it can break or it can scratch as well. So these are surprisingly durable and have withstood a little bit of abuse, a little more than I thought that they would.
And we've tested a lot of different things. Alcohol is a good cleaner. Your eye trophy cleaner is a great cleaner. Windex without ammonia. That's what you said?
They say non-ammonia Windex, and this is a really good one. We have straight alcohol here too, yeah. And that's been really good.
And we've wiped them off with lacquer thinner and did not notice. They say no harsh solvents. Lacquer thinner did not seem to damage it. Mineral spirits and turpentine I don't think will hurt it. Acetone, we could see a reaction to the lens.
Yep, you could tell it just softened that. They actually, out of the package, they have one of the higher shines of any eye.
They're a great shine.
Gorgeous out of the package. And it wasn't until you used the acetone that that shine was diminished.
And we didn't use it on a mount. We do that just to test for you people so we can tell you. It's not like, oh, I wonder who got that deer that he acetoned it. But you know, do be careful with them and use, you know, water solvents. You're talking about the triple thick glaze. Sometimes on a bird eye, a lot of people use super glue to hold their eyelids around their bird eyes, and invariably super glue works wonderful until you get it on one of these plastic eyes. And you get a little bit of super glue on the plastic eye, and then what's the first thing you do? You grab some kind of tool that you're going to scrape it off with, and you might get it off, but now you scratch the eye. Now you got a mess. Our go-to all the time on a little bird eye like that is turn him on his side, like you said, eye up, little bit of triple thick, and test it on something first. If this sits on your shelf for a few months, it's going to get a little on the thick side, and when you put it on there, it won't flow like we want it to. But if you added just a little bit of water to it to make it a little creamier, touch it on the top so it just flows right on down. And this stuff dries fast. It dries within, oh, I don't know, minutes. So don't take your brush and start stroking, because it's going to start drying in the middle of a stroke and you're going to have a brush stroke in it. So you want a little dab on the top and let it flow down. And it makes besides fixing your scratch, it makes a beautiful, lifelike wet eye.
Yep. Yeah, they really do.
And you've had some luck with floor cleaner, floor shine wax?
Yeah, that seemed to work really well. We did that just as another experiment on the eye. We took one and we buffed it to the point that it was no longer shiny and came back with the floor shine. I think it was this one. And it's very nice and bright now. So that gave a really nice look to it. I think we've also sprayed them with crystal clear glaze too.
Crystal clear glaze.
Yeah. Actually,
so that'll give you some idea. Don't be afraid of them. They're really easy to use. Oh, going back to the different shapes too. There's kind of a basic spheric shape, which is just a real nice symmetrical oval. And then somewhere here we have they call it a parabolic. Is this it?
Yep.
A parabolic. And a parabolic has a slight bit of a defined cornea, defined cornea. And you were testing this the other day by you had made a mold of a real deer eye that you've been playing with making eyes for a long time. And so we know the shape. This is the shape of the deer eye that you made a mold of. Mm-hmm. You took the mold you made and you took the parabolic eye, and coincidentally, the shape is nearly identical to what you molded from the real deer.
Yeah, it goes in there, almost locks in.
Slightly lower in profile. The real deer is a little bit more, but that just depends on how far we immersed it into the rubber. But that fit is almost like this was made from that. Yep. It's a very, very good, accurate fit. So I don't know, I think that's what we've typically been using here is the parabolic. Yep. And the parabolic is a little bit humpier, for lack of a better word, a little bit more like your cast, a little bit, not quite as much as this glass eye,
Yeah.
but we like them. They work real good. Don't be afraid of them. Don't scratch them, and you'll be happy as a clam.
Yeah, they finish nice. They're very nice to work with. I think the more we use them, the more confident we become in them.
And the price is right. The price is
Oh, absolutely.
crazy good
Yeah.
compared to glass eyes.
Yep.
You know, some of our glass eyes, I can't tell you right off the bat how much they are, but do you know?
They've been very comparable. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll say something wrong. And
I know, that's what I was
end
afraid to
up selling
say.
them for the wrong. But no, they are. Pricing is much better too, and they're available. That's the biggest thing. So
Easier to make,
yep.
I think.
Yeah.
So should we show them how to set an eye?
I think so. I think so. We've done this a time or two before, so it'll be basically what we've done previously, but we can do it with one of these. I think there's a
Yeah.
parabolic, and there's one. I think that's the pair.
Okay. Now, typically we'll just cut the stem off, right? Now, if we didn't cut the stem off, which, scoot me this way. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. If we didn't cut the stem off, I have no problem taking some kind of a tool, finding center in here, and poking it in at what I guess I would call 45 degrees to the face, so that I could stick it in. I would make my hole big enough so that I have a little bit of rotation, a little bit of wiggle room here. Or the other option is to clip this off.
And about anything will cut it. A little pair of dikes cut very well, but you can cut that with a scalpel or a knife too if you need to. It's not a very sturdy stem.
Now, we will use, this is not a deer that we're going to be mounting soon. We're doing it just for you people for illustration purposes. But do you have a knife? I bet you don't, do you?
I don't have one. I had a little pocket knife. Can I borrow your knife?
Oh, God, to open the clay?
Yeah, open your clay for you.
Now, typically, before we set eyes, we're going to have probably our horns on. We will have cut our tear duct, cut our lip slot, because we don't want to have our eyes set just the way we want them, drying out. And as we're cutting the lip slot, you know, the eyes are falling out, that sort of thing. So we would have a lot of that done. Roughing up the form, we would take our form rougher and we would rough up the whole thing. So pretend we did all that. A couple things we like to do with our deer that are, some people might not, is we like to put a nictitating membrane in, and we do that upon completion of the deer. When the deer is completely done and doing finish work is when we put our nictitating membrane in, whether we, a lot of times we use the pre-manufactured ones, and so you need a little room for the nictitating membrane to slide in there. If you're trying to put it in and you're going against this hard styrofoam, you know, it's going to be hard to get in and it might buckle on you. So we like to remount the inside corner so that you do have room for your membrane. I'm not changing the shape of the eye. I'm just making room for a membrane. And Brett's going to have the most beautiful membranes for you soon.
We hope so.
Okay, now all I did was just make a little room there. That's going to give me room for the membrane. It's going to allow us a spot for the caruncle. And we also like to cut out just a tiny triangle up here. And we're going to build that with clay. when you measure your nose to eye, this is the point right here. Always test your eye so that it's not binding in there, because you do want to have a little bit of movement. The measurements are just the same as your glass eye. It's going to be a 32 millimeter eye. Now I'm using I think I've got a fallow deer or a red deer or something. But
Yeah, I think we brought up a light eye.
It's going to work good.
Just so you can see it a little bit better.
Okay, now the one thing you'll notice is on a glass eye, you have a bowl here to fill with clay to stick in there, or you're going to put clay in there and you're going to push it into the clay and you're going to rock it into place. With the acrylic eye, it's solid, so you can't put a great deal of clay in there, so it's going to take less clay to hold it in place. So Brett gave me a little clay here. And these are very symmetrical. You don't have to worry about a front and a back. Now I'm going to slide it into place. I'm watching my pupil so it's level to the ground. I moved it as far back in the socket as I can to allow for a membrane when the time comes, as well as building the carbuncle when we do finish work. Now you can rotate these a little bit, and then we'll usually have a level, and we'll take a light. Still my light. Oh, hang on. So there's the pupil, and I would have a level, and I just hold that level up to the pupil, put the light on it. I can see that the pupil's level to the ground. Always make sure that your stand is level and the back of the deer is level. If you make all of this perfectly level and you used your little bubble to make sure everything's the way you want it, and if it's not right back here, you're going to be all for naught. Now this should be very easy and just kind of routine to set this eye. You don't need a lot of clay. Less is best, kind of. I'm just taking, I always describe it as a rat tail, kind of pointed at one end. I'm going to smush off the back that I'm not going to need. I'm going to put it in place here.
So you're starting at what we would call corner number 1.
We've always done the 1, 2, 3 eye set.
Yeah.
And 1 is right in the front corner where you measure nose to eye. 2, we don't have, but it's going to be kind of standing up like this from number 1. And then depending on his attitude, we're going to bring from 2 to 3. And 3 is a little bit higher than 1. So here's 1. If I went and did equal with 1, I'm going to be right here. I want a little bit higher, so I just brought my clay up a touch bit higher.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to show them, I think we have that illustration in our reference book, our eye reference book. And there are some great pictures in here. But I think...
Now on these, this is an XP form. XP stands for extreme precision because they are very precise. All of the muscle above the eye orbit is all here for you. You have only this much to build in. And so it doesn't take this much clay to do that. It takes very little. There's your 1, 2, 3.
There's your 1, 2, 3 corners. Just kind of a little illustration that's in the reference book on on a rough eye shape and a little bit of definition there to kind of go along with that.
Now, I didn't put a lot of clay in there. I didn't do a whole lot of pushing or anything like that. I just laid that in, pushed it so it stayed, laid the top lid in, pushed it so it stays. Now what I'm going to do is feather it to the side of the mannequin. And that lower lid, watch that you don't make it so big that it looks like you got hit. I always say like you got hit with a ball peen hammer right there. Less is best. Now, any of the clays that you use, critter clay or one of the pottery clays, the more you handle it, it absorbs moisture from the clay and it's going to dry out on you, and it gets very difficult to work with. Okay, so basically that's a real rough eye set. Now I would take one of my softer brushes, because I don't want to use anything metal, and I want that animal to be able to see out the front. So I always look straight on, and I don't want any buildup of clay in front. I want to get all the way to the foam so there's no big buildup of clay blocking his view from the front. Now, there's lots of eyes and attitudes of eyes and things like that. There's, super alert, like an arrow went flying by his head. There's all kinds of eye rotations. There's so many different things you can do with eyes, and basically all we want to do is make a good-looking mount for the customer's wall, unless he tells us different. Okay, now I'll show you the 1 to 2. Here's my first corner. If I go straight up almost, I'm going to get some of that clay out. Here's my second corner right here. I put a little dot there. 2 corner to 3 can be an arc. It can be straight, or it can be a sway back, depending on his attitude. Sometimes we'll do a real chewing his cud, happy just to be laying in the sunshine type of a deer. And to do something like that, we would actually bring down that top lid to straight to almost just a little bit of a droop in his top lid. So here's 1, here's 2, 3 is a little bit higher than 1, and then your bottom line of the deer can be, don't bring it up too far on the eye. Usually it will sag a little bit, and when you look at most animals, look at your cats and dogs and deer and everything, that top lid almost always shades the pupil. So the pupil lays very close to that top lid. So if your pupil's right in the middle and you really want it to be shaded a little more, bring your top lid down, and now he looks so sleepy he's going to fall asleep. So now bring your bottom lid down the same amount that you just did the top, and now you've opened up that eye again. Now that was really a 2-minute eye set, and that's probably what we would do before we put a cape on. And there's a whole lot of little things, and if you look at your reference material, little things to look at that we like to do. I always say there's a little level part right out of the nictitating membrane. It stays level, and then it goes down into the drop. But look at your reference material like that Brett was showing you. And that's about all that's needed before we put him all together. And now, when you slide, some of you people are going to have tubed capes, and you slide a tubed cape onto this. You're going to smish this. You know, kind of make sure you stretch out your neck really good with your arms up in there, so that when it comes to sliding that tube on, you're not destroying everything that you did.
Yeah. That looks nice.
And we've got all kinds of room for adjustment when we get the other one done, and making one is easy, making the other two the same, or make the other one the same as this one is not as easy to make them the pair. Then you have to do it all again when you put the hide on. Some people, have you seen the little plastic strips,
Yep.
you know, that they'll put on here, fold it over, and a T-pin here and a T-pin here to protect that when they slide a hide on. I think research probably sells those.
Yep,
you
or
know.
used to anyways.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Clint
yeah.
likes to use those, yeah.
Yeah, and that works. But that's kind of it. Now that eye looks every bit as good as any eye that we've ever used. And I didn't use anything harsh. And I could use my metal tool. If you're really, really careful, I don't have a problem using it. Just don't get Western, is that the term
Yeah,
we've heard before?
We have heard that
Don't
before.
get crazy with it. Be gentle and, you know, coax the clay where you want it.
Check your edge, check the edge of your metal tool, make sure there's not a burr where you've been prying against something. But yeah, you can get away with metal tools more than
We're trying to scare you, really.
yeah.
Really.
Yep. But do be careful.
And just repeat the same thing when you stick your hide on. Get them all cleaned up. You can use water on them. You can use a brush. You can use, you know, your Windex and alcohol, all that sort of thing. We like them, and we're going to be using live eyes a whole lot more with all the deer that we'll be doing.
Yep. We'll continue to show you some as we get other projects finished. But I think there's quite an offering. I'm pretty excited about some of the colorations.
Oh,
I
the
think
selection's great.
the colors, especially getting into some of the African game and things like that, we have colors that we haven't had before, and the detail in the eye itself on these lighter eyes is tremendous. The customer will appreciate it, so they're exciting.
And I think the common rule is touch this to the side of your face, to your bottom lid, to your eye, to your top, and pretty close, isn't it?
It's really nice, yeah.
And then we've showed you lots of times before how to clay on the ears. We use clay for our ear bases and our ear butts, and we do all that. We have the antlers on, and when it comes time to mount, we pop the ears off. We glue them into the skin, which you can see on any of our archived videos. We've done that a lot, I think, as well as take the antlers off, slide the skin on.
Yep.
And that's it for today. I think give live eyes a try. Order a pair of them. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. We're going to be using them, and we like them, and we were pretty ecstatic with the ones that we've used so far.
We've got them all the way up to elk size and down to bears and bobcats.
And I made the
good
comment
selection.
talking to Erling Mork about, you know, glass eyes, you know, were getting impossible to get. And he said, you know, and I don't want to say acrylic, I don't want to say plastic, but, you know, acrylic. And I was concerned about acrylic eyes. And he said, you silly Americans, why do you want to put eyes that are going to last 100 years in a mount that's only going to last 30? You know, so you got to think about his wisdom sometimes.
Sure.
You know, he's pretty good. And we have a winner. What are we giving away?
We are giving away an eye polish trophy kit.
And with this, I think you get a cloth, a lens cloth. You get some long Q-tips and eye polish, which is meant for this type of a product.
Yep.
And that goes to
John Leskinen.
John.
Oh, wow.
I hope you like them. why don't we throw in a pair of deer eyes with that? So
that's
he has
amazing.
something to clean. So John, we just enhanced your gift. And what's he got to do to get it? It goes with his first order, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Should have made him order the eyes.
I know.
Wasn't thinking. Okay, John, congratulations. Hope you guys like that. There's a whole big offering out there. So when you think there's point of no return and no eyes, we've got to paint marbles, we actually don't. There's a lot of good products out there. And
Are you going to tell them what we're going to do next week?
oh, yeah, we're going to Sean Shaw.
Yep.
Sean Shaw from GTM. GTMS is coming, and Sean is from Utah, and he's kind of a logistics shipping wizard.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody that knows more about shipping than Sean does.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of, I mean, if you look on Facebook, there's always somebody saying, oh my gosh, you know, Matuska screwed me on shipping again, you know, and that does happen. But it's never intentional, and we always make it right. Shipping is getting to be a huge, huge thing. I don't want to say one of the carriers that just was negotiating their terms got a 40% pay increase.
Got a big increase.
That all increased the value of these by $2 and of this by $5 and by, you know, so as shipping goes up, the price you're paying for this and that you have to charge your customers is a lot more. We get stuff to our customers in the least expensive way that we can, and it's not easy. We have a whole crew working on
Just
logistics and making it affordable for the taxidermists. But shipping costs are not going to go down. And Sean is going to be here next week with us live and tell you ins and outs and do's and don'ts and what the foreseeable future holds for ordering.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we heard the very most about. He did a seminar for us, or with us, at the
Nationals
NTA this past summer, and man, we've had some really good feedback on that. I think we're going to be lucky enough to have him come join us on Thursday.
And Sean's coming all the way from Utah to our little shop, and he's gonna, he puts on, he's a great speaker, first of all, and he puts on a really exceptional seminar and a lot of common sense things that taxidermists can do to minimize their expenditures. And it's like we said, stuff's not going to get cheaper. As we're calling around for the catalog price increases and things like that, everything's going up. And I can tell you, every company that told us there won't be any price increases, they'll call us within a week saying, oh, we forgot to tell you. You know, happens all the time.
It does.
But so tune in. Oh, wait a minute, there's more. Next week, I think I heard that of all the viewers, there will be a drawing. And some lucky taxidermist that has tuned in, and I don't know the rules yet, is going to get free shipping for one full year. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And it's
That's a big deal.
United States only. Sorry, Craig Robinson. We're not doing the Australia thing. But we did that at the...
That's really funny because he literally just commented in saying, hope he has some info on Australia shipping.
Sorry.
No freebies.
You get a free candy bar, though.
Yeah.
But we did that in the NTA, and it's...
We did. It's exciting, and with the things that are happening coming up, that could be a big, big deal for somebody.
For the right person, it could be huge. It could be thousands of dollars that we are giving you with free shipping. So Blake, when you order a hat, it's not going to cost you anything other than the hat.
Yep.
Okay.
We did have a question from Mike. He wants to know if we sell the iBook, and we do. We actually have a few different variations in ear, nose. We have 2 different all-around white-tailed deer books.
These are great by Dan Vrips and Lacey Combs.
Yeah, and some of the Matuska photos.
And some of ours. The best picture I've ever seen of a deer is one that we took, and if you look in the front cover, that is a reflection of our shop and the deer pen and Mandy's window right
Yep.
there in the office, and in that deer's eye, that was our deer. Is that not cool?
Yeah.
But these books, you can't mount a deer without
Yeah.
reference like this. And even though you think you've done this 1,000 times and you don't need this, your work will start to decline if you don't
As soon as you put it
continually
away.
glance at these.
Yep.
Any of the big names in taxidermy, in deer taxidermy, will tell you the same thing. You gotta have this type of stuff.
Have it on your desk all the time. That one is specific to eyes. That has, I can't tell you how many pages, but several pages of all eyes. These are, we've also got it's titled All Around. So it's going to have both life-size pictures, some great eye and expression pictures in the face, but it's also going to have noses. And
Flowers.
It'll have some nice sunflowers and ear attitudes. Really nice pupil angle there you can see for eye reference. But so yeah, check those out online. I think there's a little bit online that you can see further, and there's just some fantastic pictures.
Great stuff.
There.
All right.
That's a wrap.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right.